This is my husband, Huan, and I'm Morica. We have 5 girls. And our girls, the oldest being 21, and 20, 18, 16, and the youngest is 13 this year.
And they are all girls. We have never actually put a number. Before we got married, we never really talked about the number of children actually. It's just that I love her a lot and things just came naturally. After so many children, I guess we still never said a number. It just comes naturally.
Typical Singaporean, I would think 3 would be a good number. So the 4th child was not expected. And of course, then the 5th child is a bonus because the 4th child sort of paved the way. So after 4, 5 is not any bigger number. But I do remember one time Chun Huan's friend from JC actually say, "Oh, have you heard that your husband actually has this vision that he had 7 children?" I was like, huh? I haven't heard of anything like that before. Yeah.
I have never shared with her about that. Yes, what she mentioned was true. Previously, when I was in JC, somebody asked me, "Chun Huan, how many children would you like to have?" I said 7 is a good number. It's a lots number. So I don't mind 7 kids, but I have never told her about that. So it was a surprise for her when she heard it from my JC friends. We still enjoy children whenever we go out, especially seeing young children. So we have always asked ourselves, wow, what happens if the Lord gives us another one? We don't dare to think after 5, but I guess our experience has always been, if the Lord gives, we will always take. Yeah.
6 or 7 is not a problem, but waking up at night is a problem for us. Okay, I think the hardest part was the initial 5 years when the kids were like 1 and 2 years apart. Sleep was never consistent. Food is never consistent. You cannot remember what you're eating or have you eaten. Yeah, so that is a sacrifice because sleep to me is very important. So the waking up at night and sleepless night, yeah, is quite a toll for me. Yeah.
If you were to see us maybe 7, 8 years ago when the kids are young, we won't be as composed as what we are now. You see the house in a big mess. You see us screaming and yelling like, "Hey, keep quiet there, stop that thing, hey, don't fight with each other." Yeah, that's the kind of situation you will see in the household. Having 5 kids in the house means the house is a lot messy. Things are always coming in surprises. Somebody have broken a glass, something's happening somewhere. So you are always on your toes. Sleep is one thing that you learn to sleep lesser. You also learn to raise your voices a lot more during that time, but now I think we are a bit more calmer. I think going through times when they are young means that you need a lot of stamina. You actually forgo a lot of couple time because you actually have to spend time with the children. In fact, a lot of our routine basically just evolves around the children. Weekend, we try to bring the children out so that they don't get cooped up in the house during the weekdays. The schedule is like after dinner, you push them to the bedroom so that they can have their story time, and about 8 plus, they sleep. Then from about 9 onwards, that is the only quiet time that both of us has for ourselves. Actually not much also, by then we'll be almost flat out already lah. So we will just sleep through and wake up the next morning and the routine carry on by itself lah. So a lot of physical, a lot of stamina, a lot of patience is needed.
Yeah, I think through the process of messiness, spillage, it's like every day someone will spill something onto the floor, and spending lots of time feeding, I think that trains a lot of patience. through the process, yeah. Yes, actually I stayed home after the second child was born. Yeah, in terms of maybe career-wise, when we look at friends, yeah, maybe that will be something in the early days where I will struggle with. Why am I at home, washing and feeding all the time, when some of my friends will be like, or my ex-colleague will be like working, progressing. But I think God is good. I managed to still continue some kind of work on a part-time basis, for the last 14 years. Yeah. So that keeps the sanity to a certain extent, doing something else other than, so that's a balance.
I must thank her for actually sacrificing her career. She was a banker previously, so she actually took the step of faith to say, okay, I would like to bring up the kids. So I must thank her for actually giving up something that was precious to her. And through it all, I think we did see the faithfulness of God. He did provide in a lot of ways, allowing Morica, even though she was full-time at home, there were opportunities for her to continue to serve in church, in BSF, and even to take part-time teaching, which allows her the sanity and the freedom to be just out of the house for that time period, so that she has her own continued circle of friends, continued ministry with the Lord. So I'm very encouraged that even though she actually has to juggle between the roles of a mother, as a leader in ministry as well as being a spouse to me also. She still takes care of me despite the fact that we have 5 children. Yeah. Wow, parenting has stretched our patience, it has stretched our relationship at times. A lot of times it's because we differ in views of how we handle the children. So that sometimes puts us at opposite ends. Sometimes I will comment on her handling of the children, or she will comment on my handling of the children. We have our own idiosyncrasies, we have our own ideas, so we do differ. Trying to find a balance point is important. Sometimes I must acknowledge that she has a larger say, so I learn to zip up at times. Sometimes she also understands. She gives me the room to raise my voice a little bit, and then she humbly moves to one side.
I think this part of differences in view, and also the phases of the children growing, it also allows us to grow as a couple, because the relationship at one time was a little bit challenged, because how come it wasn't like what it was before, maybe about 10 years ago. So then I think it dawned on me that things have changed, as in the circumstance, the number of children, also the relationship cannot be stagnant as what it was at the beginning. So then after going through Alpha Marriage course, so I learned different areas of needs of our spouses, also the role of wife and husband. One of the biblical teaching is wife, submit to your husband. Then the question will be, if I'm not wrong, why should I submit? This comes quite hard, but I thought I learned the submission is a command from God, but things work out, when we do as what the Lord say, and then somehow the relationship works after that, and then we start making more effort to make time for each other, and that's where we get away. Yeah. So yes, the plus point will be we learn how to give each other space and give time. Set aside time for each other, and learning to see things from each other's point of view.
We try to get snippets of time together, because it is not possible to be away prolonged. given the fact that the kids are young. So in the past, what we try to do is we try to take time off. Previously, I was traveling quite a bit. So I will always try to get her to join me maybe the last 1-2 days of the trip so that she could be off from the family. We are quite blessed that her mother can just come over to cover that short period of time. Or sometimes we just take a couple of days away but we quickly come back again. So that's I think the way that we have tried to give ourselves a little bit of room as well. Yeah.
And also it taught me more to be a listener. We started off like we want to give each other opinion, so that is challenging. But I think as after we discover our role, we tend to be more sensitive to listen more. Even though the solution may not be present at that point in time, but that listening actually gives a lot of empathy and understanding in the growth of the relationship. Yeah.
We do give ourselves roles. I will give priority to the roles. Like for example, when we deal with certain issues, maybe let's say the children's education and things like that, I will give a priority for her views and her opinion so that we don't crash. Or sometimes we have differing views, but I must recognize that certain things she must have a priority. Of course, certain things I will have a priority, like maybe choosing the car, I'll have the priority. But perhaps when it comes to the children's education and things like that, or certain issues, we agree. So she will have the priority. So when she says, oh, I would like the children to be like that, or I would prefer the kids to have this, I will need to respect that. So in a way, I must submit myself, even though I'm supposed to be the head of the household, but I recognize that certain decisions, I must give her the priority. Okay, I guess as a guy, I'm supposed to be the breadwinner. So then naturally I become the ATM machine. Yeah, so I must be the more generous person. Of course, she is the improved version of the man. So she will handle all the other complicated matters. Yeah, so like driving, that's one very common thing that happens to me. I will be the driver of the house, despite the fact that she drives me. Yeah, some of the physical things, being the man, I will need to take up the leadership in that perspective. The soft skills and the dealing with the girls in some areas, I'll entrust it to her lah.
To me, I think it's important that the girls must have someone that they can respect, and so he gets the good part because he's the so-called the ATM. So things comes nicer because he becomes a nice person. I will be the one taking care of the smaller things at home, their needs. Yeah.
The girls will turn to her first.
Smaller things, yes. So I think that is important, yeah. Because sometimes I may not agree, but I think it's important that they have a view of a father and to respect one.
The girls will tend to approach the mother first as the person whom they are closer to. And in a lot of ways, they have high tea together, they go out lunch, they do shopping. So they interact with their mother more. They come to me when they want a guy's opinion of things. So I tend to give them the more macro view of things, whereas the mom is the more relational one. Any kind of issues pertaining to themselves, with their friends, they will approach the mother. Yeah, so that is how perhaps one of the areas we split our roles. Of course, food comes under her care. We eat what she cook, no questions about it. We can suggest, but then too many cooks spoils the soup, right?
Actually, it's more of managing resources, not so much on cooking, because everything is available on internet now. Yeah, whatever idea, I also encourage the girls, whatever idea you have, go and do some research and create yourself. Yeah, I think over the years, I think as a mom, I think I learned to facilitate And I have to learn also to let go of my role as in telling and instructional. So it's also another phase of learning for me now that the girls are growing older, to learn to step back a bit more, to listen a bit more, and to do the role of facilitating. Then I tend to be more instructional, over the years,
The method of dealing with the daughters also have to evolve with times. When they're young, you actually give a lot of instructions. As they grow older, you have to change it towards to be more of a suggestion, an opinion. They have to learn to weigh the pros and cons, and they have to decide for themselves. Of course, we as parents, we can give them some guiding principles, but we need to learn to respect the space that they need, as well as for them to develop the maturity of decision making.
So I think in terms of just now the question whether how different we are in terms of views, so actually we are very different. Very different. I think the things that we agree on is okay, the children, since young the children must go to church on, or rather Sunday is Sabbath, and we will not plan any tuition program or any program, but rather church time. So up to today, I think when we honor God, I think God is good, and they haven't missed out on much. Taking time out on Sunday. So that's something that we agree on since young. But any other issue, we have very differing views.
What is clear in the Bible, I think is clear to two of us. We typically don't have theological issues, but we do have issues when it comes to more of the opinion. So that's the part where we sometimes struggle. We voice out our own opinions. We also sometimes have to pray about it, because there are many situations where there is no right or wrong answer, but we just learn to actually pray together and see where the Lord leads. At the end of the day, whatever results come out, we just learn to trust that is where the Lord, because most important thing is we have prayed.
Very simple thing. My husband likes Kentucky Fried Chicken, and I like healthy food.
I also like McDonald's.
Yes. So these are very simple things, but yet we are very different.
So she voices out when I enjoy such food. So to respect her, I try to eat secretly without letting her know.
So we work on that. Right? So we have McDonald's breakfast together.
Yeah. She takes her latte.
Children,
We have always enjoyed our holidays. That's the time we let loose. You're not cooped up in your home with 5 kids climbing all over the place. It's not easy. So when we go for holidays, everybody let loose. So in a way, the kids also enjoy. We also take it as a break for ourselves. Holidays are good memories.
I think one painful memories, I won't say painful, but fairly challenging, is to let my last child go from PSLE to Sec 1. Because it's like, you're always so used to having young children, and then now you have to finally send the youngest child to the next phase of life, which means that you're letting go of this child. And then for the youngest child, she has her own opinion, where she wants to go and all. So that was quite hard, and then we have to readjust again to a different phase of life.
A painful memory for me would be a road accident we had on the way to Cameron Highlands. So it was supposed to be a happy family trip with a neighbor. Unfortunately, my tire burst driving between the north-south highway. So we actually crashed the car. It was a total wreck. Right off by the insurance company. The engine was smashed, all the airbags burst, all faces were covered with all the airbag powder and things like that. In that accident, all the girls were with us. We were traveling as one family. One of the girls actually had a cut here as well as here. So that was quite a difficult, painful memory because in a way, one of the girls were actually injured. The rest of the kids were still small. They are all small. So it was a state of shock for them. Because the car was in a wreck, so I had to stay with the car, and Morica with the 5 girls, with my neighbors, had to go to the nearby clinic, which later found that it was not suitable and had to drive all the way back. So that was a difficult time for us because she had to manage 5 kids with 1 injured child, and I had to be stuck with my car wreck and had to settle all the police issues and things like that, and had to ship the car back to Singapore on a tow truck. So that to me was a painful one.
During the crash, I had enough time before when the airbag came to even, I remember, to pray to God and say, please protect us. It is like, even those split seconds, but that was so much time that, you could still pray. And something that we didn't expect, the whole tire flew out. And then when I brought the child, the number 4 child, I was thinking, how come the blood was behind, be dripping. I mean, you can see blood stains behind the shirt when I see the cut in front. But actually, she has a big cut behind. So God was good because had I see the cut behind, I will freak out instead of bringing her back to Singapore because there was no medical help nearby. So we have to drive one of our friends who was with us, drive 10 of us back to Singapore to the nearest hospital. And then that incident also reminded us how precious each child is, to us.
We actually saw the protection of God through the accident, because if you look at the car, the accident was quite bad, and we crashed from one side on the right side, and we spin all the way to the left side, without any cars coming from behind. So that was something that always I will remember. But like what Morica says, that helped us also to treasure our children more, because we could have lost some of them along the way.
Okay, as a role model, it's the constant process. We are surely imperfect people. As what Huan had said earlier, we scream and we yell at them. So the self-control part is we ourselves really have to, self-control before you can even show anyone. The home is the first place they will see all kinds of behavior. So it's a constant challenge, and I think it's a reminder for us as well. Roles-wise, I think, yes, as I mentioned earlier, the role of a wife is, as the Bible said, a husband love your wife. So, this is something that I think my husband is trying to do, love his wife. As a wife, submit to your husband. So I think it's important for me to have wisdom to submit to my husband, because that's where all my girls are going to learn about submission. Blind submission? No, I think I may not agree with everything that he does, or I see danger for the decision that he's going to make. I think I need to pray. Somehow, again, I think God in His timing allows me to speak. Maybe not at that moment where I do not agree, but there will be times where I have the opportunities to speak up in a manner that is acceptable, even though I'm still learning. Many times I still don't get it right.
At the end of the day, we are still 2 individuals with our own minds and our own views. So we recognize also that the Lord has made us husband and wife, and that unity is important. And how this unity manifests itself impacts the children as well. So we need to be a good model to our children in terms of how we handle each other. Are we screaming at each other, or we respect each other, we give each other the room we hear each other out. We believe that will also be a role model at the end to our children. This year, I try to lengthen my words. Instead of saying, what ah? Where ah? Where are you going ah? These are very short words. I'm trying to use longer words because I find that will slow me down, make me more patient. So rather just using short words, I will make it longer in a way that it's more like a conversation. It's not asking them directly, but rather it becomes a conversation in hope that we start a conversation and that relationship between me and my daughter becomes an opportunity to dialogue more things than just to get an answer from her.
So it is also something that I have to learn. Instead of just taking the relationship for granted. Yeah.
Okay, I do believe it's good because they only got one father, not much of a choice. We try to build that relationship, and we recognize that an effort must be put in to build that relationship. So one of the ways I try to build relationship is to be a driver. When I drive my daughters, it's an opportunity for me to dialogue because sometimes at home they are busy with their own things. So the opportunity to dialogue is limited and they get distracted. Whereas in a car, she's my captive audience. It's not just one way, it's an opportunity for me to talk to her, to understand what's happening in her life, anything she wants to let her dad know. And I must always remember, whatever she shares, I must remember. Sometimes we take things for granted. So sometimes 1 year in, 1 year out, because you ask for the sake of asking. So I try to make an effort to remember whatever she says, I remember, so that I can also maybe follow up with a subsequent conversation. So how was the thing that you shared with me? That would be a opportunity for me to continue the dialogue and hence the relationship.
This is also something new this year that I would need to work on, to specifically spend time with each child, to give them the attention. So that is where our breakfast or high tea come about. Yeah, to specifically ask them for their free time. So because each one have their own schedule, and I think it's something that I have to work on, to look for individual child. Yeah.
Okay, hard conversations are hard. Yeah. Things like when you see a behavior that you want to correct, but sometimes they do not want to, or they feel that they don't see it as a behavioral issue. So I find that we have to be patient when we approach the topic. We don't want them to close up their mind. So I actually have to think, how do I approach this topic with them? How should I present it in such a way that they don't close the door? How can I allow her to keep her doors open so that I have the opportunity to actually suggest or advise, and they will be able to listen. At the end of the day, if they close their door, I will find that then I have not achieved that which I wanted to do. So I tend to take behavioral issues as something important because it is a part of their upbringing. It's also part of their path of growing. Of course, the other hard issues that we stand firm will be on spiritual issues, like what Morica mentioned, that we keep Sunday Sabbath. We want our children to also recognize that. Our lives evolve around the church as well, in the various ministries, the people that the Lord has blessed us with. So these are things that we want to make sure that is ingrained in them. It's important and they recognize it. These are issues that we have spoken earlier before when they are young. So we want to continue to emphasize on them so that even as they grow up, it becomes part of them and be part of their families in future.
Heart issues can be as small as keeping tidy. Yeah, because it's as I reflect back, it is also is it my expectation or is it something that they see it for themselves, just like a relationship with God? This is something good for you, but they must also find that conviction to have a relationship with God. So it all starts with building a relationship with them. Regardless of the amount of words I say, it will convince them, but rather it will be a time when the relationship is good, they naturally will pick that up. Starting from as small things as helping in household chores, or so it's not something that can be instructional. I guess at this age they have some idea, but it's more of the heart attitude to want to do it. So well, we're still working on that. How to have bit by bit conviction. The greatest thing or that I must remember to do is to thank them even for the smallest improvement. To encourage them.
We need to learn to recognize that they have put in efforts. Our words must always be seasoned with encouragement. Oftentimes, as parents, we tend to want to lord over them, or we just speak words very fast in a reprimand manner. Sometimes when we see them not obeying or not following, so as they grow older, we need to change lah. We need to encourage them more, be more positive, so that they also pick up the right mannerism, that kind of encouraging behavior. We recognize ourselves as parents, we need to help our children, develop them in the right direction, and not to want them to or insist on our ways. It's not, they are going to be adults lah. So we need to recognize that. I make it a practice that when they hop in my car in the morning, when we go out to pray, we always try to start off with the day with a prayer. We try to have family dinners also, and sometimes during these dinners, we get to share the word of Lord. Like for example, we could also talk about what we have learned from the sermon on Sundays. We could take a passage to share, and where opportunity arises, we can, when they face issues and things like that, we try to sit down and pray with them. I think as role models, it is important. The children will see how we interact with people, how we serve in church, so that they actually look and learn from young that the parents are involved in church. Hopefully this will give some guidance to them and encouragement to help them grow up knowing that they too can play a part in church.
So it's more of a lifestyle. I think we tried family altars. Usually Sunday night will be dinner together, but we haven't been diligent. We started, but we still have to work on that. Sharing the learning from the sermon. Because I think we try not to be so preachy, like it's always what we learn, our own idea. Maybe something we can try is what is the high and low that they are going through, on our family dinners, so that they get to talk more.
Grandchildren?
For me, I think is to, as I say, to build the relationship with them. Because I think as they go, maybe in the next few years, as they grow, then you're going to lose them. Not lose them, but they will grow into adulthood, which means there'll be less time. So I think I see this period as really that the time that they are still in the house, and time to build that strengthen that relationship. yeah, we have with them.
I guess when they grow older, sometimes you miss them when they're young. So we sometimes, for the fun of it, take out their children photos. It's always in my phone. We take out and then we will just, oh, you're so cute, so cute. Last time so cute one. Last time they behave like that and things like that. So it actually gives us good memories, gives us good vibes, encourages us. Sometimes we just see them, we just give them a hug like that, say, ayo.
We miss hugging them.
We miss hugging them. So I think hugs are very important. We try to hug them. As they grow older, they don't hug me that. Please, 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 my friends are here, right? But we try to remind ourselves that how they are so wonderfully made and how we have enjoyed them when they are young. And when they grow old, we must also, in a way, learn to let go of those ideas of, oh, they are so cute last time. Now they don't want you to hug already. You need to work towards building a different kind of relationship. It's not a father-daughter kind of a child relationship, but now it becomes peer relationship, whereby they learn to speak their own minds. You learn to converse with them rather than instruct them, and that allows them the room to grow, and they will recognize as time passes, I will age as a father, and they will mature and become maybe a mother to somebody. So we need to grow.
So it's important to build a good relationship so that when you're old, they will still come back. Yeah, so I think it dawns on me for that part as they grow, grow into adulthood. Well, even though initially we thought 5 was many, when we put them in a trolley, people start counting. But as they grow up, they are really few, because when they leave, when they each have their own activity, we just feel that there are fewer and fewer people in the house. So any number of children that God gives to you, I really think it is a blessing. And different phase, you will go through different challenges. Enjoy them as they are, at the age, at different ages. So when we see them as an enjoyment, we will not see them as work or wanting them to grow as fast as they can, because you will really miss them.
Psalms 127 talks about children as arrows. Right? I'm always reminded that they are arrows given to me by God. And there are 3 things that I need to do. First of all, I need strength. When you want to shoot an arrow, you need strength. Strength means I need to prepare. I need to strengthen myself. I need to build up my stamina, right? And strength comes from the Lord. Second, I need the skill, right? The skill, because I need to know how to use the arrow. I need to know the wind speed. I need to know how heavy the arrow is. I need to know my child. Right? So knowledge of the child. And the last one, the last S, strength, skill, and you need to score. The Lord has given you an arrow. If you don't aim, you just shoot, you will sure fly all over the place. But you need to use that arrow that the Lord has given you. Aim them in the right direction so that you will score for the Lord.
So from young, I think one of the blessings that I have with my children is to bring them up in the Word of God. I myself are very much encouraged through the difficult times by the Word of God. Each phase, God never fails to encourage through His Word. So that is something I desire for the children. And as they grow up at a certain stage, they will hopefully find a relationship. So whatever the Word that is sent forth will not come back void to us. As parents, we are steward of our children. So something to live with all parents is when you have that vision, don't be discouraged. God does things in ways we cannot imagine. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Through these stories of faith, we hope to foster a culture of vulnerability and openness within our church community. If you would like to share how God has worked through your life, or if you think that your past struggles may encourage someone in this present moment, kindly drop us an email. If you're new to this church, come and visit us on our live stream on Sunday mornings, or you can visit our website at faithmc.sg. Be sure to subscribe to our channel so that you can keep up with our stories of faith.